Welcome to Lending Forward, a podcast where we're lending every bit of what we know to our listeners. From real conversations and lessons learned deep within the industry to education and forward thinking. Together, we're lending forward. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to our channels and connect with us on www.atlanticbay.com. Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group, LLC, NMLS number 72043, NMLSconsumeraccess.org is an equal opportunity lender located at 600 Lynn Haven Parkway, Suite 203, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23452.
Welcome back to another episode of Lending Forward. I am hosting today. I'm Hannah McManus, and I'm here with one of our newest faces at Atlantic Bay. Scott, we are so excited to have you on.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you. I'm excited too. My first podcast.
It's gonna be fun.
This is cool.
Scott is our newest area manager down in Florida. So, Scott, you started with us in March. Is that correct?
Yeah. Just a few months ago, a little over 90 days. So
that's crazy. And you had a whirlwind of a year. You also have a little one that was also born this year. Yeah.
I do. I have a 7-month-old. Yeah, he was born December 9th of 2022. A son named Austin, which is my middle name actually. So we've got that going, which is an amazing piece of life. As you know, Hannah, with little ones as well. And then I also have 2 teenage daughters. So I've got the full ends of the spectrum.
That is awesome. So moving companies, opening up a new market, and dealing with sleep training all at the same time. So you're
just bring it all on at once, right? We'll get through
Superman Scott.
That's it.
So tell us a little bit about you, Scott. So how did you get into this crazy industry? We know people don't go to school to become a mortgage banker. How did you fall into this crazy world?
Always a great question. Thank you. So I'm first off, I'm kind of a rare Floridian in that I'm born and raised here. I'm a 3rd generation Floridian. My family was in the citrus industry actually back to 1918. So you don't meet many of me in Florida. We're a pretty big transplant state, as a lot of people know. But I got out of college. I went to Swanee, which is the University of the South up in Tennessee, small school there, and played some football and stuff for them, and came back home to Florida. And honestly, kind of didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. I'd always been a math person, like through high school and college. Actually have a minor in economics. And when I got out of school, I kind of screwed around for a little bit, for about a year. I ran a ski school for a water ski company. Grew up kind of doing that, and so enjoyed that. And then my dad, at the time, we'd gotten out of the citrus industry, and he had a door company, a custom door and trim shop for custom builders. So he needed some help. I went to work with him. Honestly, I've always loved the building and the real estate type industries. So I actually had started going back to school for architecture. And my dad ran into some health issues. We ended up, needing to do some things with that company, and ended up kind of dissolving it actually. And I was sitting there one day thinking, what am I going to do? And I know a couple things. I know I'm good with numbers, and I know I have a big network, right, from growing up here. So a buddy of mine, honestly, was working in the mortgage industry, and I went to lunch on a Thursday with he and the owner of that company, and I started on Monday.
Oh my goodness.
So that was late 2000, beginning of 2001, when that all went down. And so that's what started my career in the mortgage business. So that's a phenomenal story. Yeah. I've got family in Florida. They are also born there. They've left and now they're back, but they're true Floridians as well. And you're right. There's not very many of them. There's not. I really take pride in it. It's a cool thing to look at old historical photos of my family and stuff like that.
That is neat. So you mentioned you have a big network, and your big network is, what brought you into the industry, how you knew you were going to succeed. So talk to me a little bit about that network. Are you still leveraging the same network? How do you grow your network? How are you leveraging that network to kind of get you going into this new path and this new role with Atlantic Bay?
Yeah, great question. So the network's always been a big piece for me. I literally, I had a young guy ask me this a few months ago. He said, "Hey, Scott, I'm going to college next year. You got one piece of advice?" And I said, "Yeah, man, it's simple. It's who you know, not what you know." And I will go to my grave saying it. Where I most saw that, honestly, was in the meltdown, right? In the economic crisis we had back in '08. It was who I knew. It wasn't what I knew, and especially getting started in this business. It was about my network, right? I didn't know rates and products and how every piece of underwriting worked and all the things that go into the mortgage world. And so you better be good at presenting yourself, right? You better be good at presenting yourself the first time, and utilizing it. And how can you benefit others? Because that's a big part of the network, right? The network is how can you give, right? What can you deliver that might be different or unique to your sphere? And I honestly, the other part of that is I think it made me better in my business, really starting out, because I was doing business in my backyard. I mean, to your point, there's a real estate brokerage in College Park, which is a neighborhood here near downtown Orlando, that a lot of the agents have known me since I was, I don't know, like 10 years old, probably. Like they're,
Oh, wow.
some of them, there's a few there that are, few agents that are kind of older in age and have known my parents. And so I knew that if I was doing business in my backyard, especially with people that know my family, your name's everything, right? I mean, you can screw one deal up and your name's mud. So I took that to heart, and I think that made me be better. I think it made me deliver on the promises I made. It held me accountable, right? In that sense. And so I think that has also been a big part of having a network, right? Having that long time, legacy type thing, right? Where they know your family and you don't want to disappoint your name, right? I mean, that's huge. So I think that's been a big part of it. Going forward, it's only helped me. I mean, as you know, Hannah, you and I've talked about, I mean, I came to Atlantic Bay after being at one company for 12 and a half years. So, which in the industry is kind of rare, if we look, I mean, most loan officers seems like normally, might hop around 3 to 5 years or something like that as an average. But that was huge, is that I stayed in one spot. So moving forward with this, new role with Atlantic Bay and spreading the brand here and growing our footprint, it helps me with my network, that they know that if I moved after 12 and a half years, that this place is special. I mean, and it's that easy to kind of tell the story, So that's kind of a way I'm focusing it.
I love that. And I think that mentality is what makes you such a great leader. And that's what makes us so excited to have you, especially leading the charge in, Orlando, and hopefully spreading the love out into other markets in Florida. So I do want to talk a little bit about Florida, because I know, Florida does get kind of a bad rep, just the market in general. So you've been in Florida, you've been lending in Florida for 20-ish years. Yeah. What are you seeing? What does it look like? I don't think at this point, none of us are really watching the media because you can't believe any of it, but you're boots on the ground, you're in it. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you excited about? Yeah,
well, great. That's, I think like everywhere, we've all got inventory issues, right? I mean, that's definitely across the board. Florida, of course, during the pandemic was the stepchild or the favorite child, or however you want to look at it, right? We all might have our different opinions, but we had a big influx, right? States like here and Tennessee and, some of these different states that had a little bit more, open policy necessarily, or small businesses were able to maybe thrive more with decisions that were made. So the influx we've seen, the appreciation we've seen has been insane, right? I mean, and I can tell you, case in point, the house I'm sitting in that my wife and I bought right at 3 years ago, literally in the middle of the pandemic, July of 2020. At the time, we were kind of buying one of the upper valued houses in the area, and I felt fine about the purchase, of course, or I wouldn't have bought it. But I never visioned or imagined it would go to kind of the level it's gone to, right? From an appreciation perspective, which is supply and demand, right? We have all these folks moving in. Look, COVID taught a lot of things, and it taught that most of us can work remote, or a lot of us can. So the beach properties here, right? I mean, the second home, vacation home, the coastal areas have seen such an influx, such an even higher appreciation rate, even than here in the interior of the state. And I don't think that's stopping. I think we've all seen a slowdown and a pause, in the number of transactions, of course, with interest rates and maybe just the economy in general, right? People being a little bit skeptical. Where do I put my money right now? Is it real estate? Is it stocks? Is it cash? Is it, gold? What is it? But I think that the growth of Florida, I think is going to, it's going to continue. We're going to continue to have that attraction with what Florida is, but also with, now we've got more policy stuff that's come into effect with it.
Right. Absolutely. And so with you kind of leading the front for Atlantic Bay, and, we've been in Florida a little bit, and now we're really sinking our teeth in and, going all in Florida. Talk to me a little bit about your vision for the market. I know you're in Central Florida right now, a little bit north of Orlando. I know we have some team members a little north of you, but what is your goals here at Atlantic Bay for Florida?
Yeah, great question. The platform and the different tools and things that we offer, our mortgage bankers and ultimately our realtor partners, and builder partners is huge. One, for instance, to bring it right to the forefront is the La Bahia program that we've got, which of course is a Spanish forward mortgage platform. Mortgage experience is the way I like to describe it, where we've got, all of our marketing materials, our loan application, everything customer facing is Spanish. So the mortgage banker speaks Spanish, the processor is bilingual. So Florida being obviously a very important and thriving Latin community as a state, I think that's going to be a big play here for us. I love to lean into that. I'm going to be looking definitely for some bilingual mortgage bankers to help us kind of spearhead that. I also love just our name, to be honest with you. I love Atlantic, right? The whole east side of Florida is the Atlantic Ocean. So, I think there's kind of a cool spin to that. I'm a beachy person. You can probably see some decorations, how we kind of live our lives. We're not that we're on the coast, but we're coastal people. And I love that. I love that piece of it too. I really want to find, we're going to methodically build this out with really good, trustworthy, teammates that are looking for, a place to call home, and a place to grow. I mean, we've got some opportunities here, in Florida, not having a huge footprint yet, that really people can come in and grow. And honestly, Hannah, that's a big part of why I joined. In addition to the tools and the resources I can bring my realtor partners in my own, origination practice, because I am still, originating and producing, the tools that we bring are huge. And that can only help someone in their career, which is a big piece of what I was looking for too, is kind of the next stage. And Atlantic Bay's got a hell of a platform for it. I mean,
so talk to me a little bit more about that. So you wanted to grow, you're obviously building your team. What does the ideal team member look like? How can you support them? How are you supporting your team now as far as their growth plans and, where they want to get? Because, it is a tough market. I know people are getting phone calls from recruiters every day. I mean, I get phone calls from recruiters every day. How are you supporting people in a way that they may not be getting elsewhere?
Support elsewhere. Yeah, great question. So a couple things. I would say first, I have a passion of teaching. I just do. Like over the last, couple years, obviously during COVID, people weren't, face to face as much. Some of my best days, some of the days I enjoyed the most, and I still do, with the tough interest rate environment we've got currently and some things, I really find myself having a great day when I'm teaching. You know, I have a couple recurring Zoom classes that I do with some real estate brokerages, and I enjoy them. It's one of the best parts of my day. So I really wanted to take that and pour it into others, pour it into other folks that want to grow in their career. You know, someone that's got 3 to 5 years experience, or is kind of a target that we would like to see. You know, we've got experience from all walks of it, right? I personally have a lot of realtor business. I do have some builder accounts as well. We've got experience in all of that. I think what I can do, you know, we've got, for instance, Shawnee, who is one of our newest team members up in Lake City. So up in the center part of North Florida. And for instance, Shawnee, I mean, I've got an account of my own that's up in the Panhandle that I can't get to all that often, right? So I've already leaned on Shawnee as a mortgage banker to come in and help me service that account, right? So help her get some more loans herself, help us, you know, actively service the account like we should. So there's support from me in various ways. You know, I want to help them build. I want to show them what's made me successful for 20 years. I want to adapt that into what might work best for them, right? Maybe they have a different style. We need to visit their markets. You know, I spent a good full day with Shawnee a couple of weeks ago. I want to learn her city. I want to learn her town. I'm from here, so I know a lot of these areas, but I might not know them as intently. So digging in with the mortgage banker, what's our best marketing approach in your neighborhood? What type of business are you going after, right? Are we looking to, you know, set up some affinity relationships with AB Works, with maybe some employers, you know? You know, are we wanting to more dig into the builder side, right? For instance, there's a big mobile home community in North Florida, right? We've already got Shawnee set up with Clayton Homes. You know, we can do some lending for those, which is kind of an outside the box thing. A lot of us don't think about, but it's another channel of business, and it's one that needs to be served. So we got a lot of different ways. You know, I do in my vision of how to help folks grow, help folks get to the next stage they want to be in. Whether that's building their own team, recruiting the right people to do that, to support them. I've done that. I've built teams. I've brought people up. I've seen, you know, people move on and become, you know, award President's Club winning loan officers themselves. And that just warms my heart. And honestly, it makes me feel successful in this industry, right? Success in seeing others grow. That's huge to me.
That's awesome. I love that. And that kind of leads me into my last question. We ask everybody that comes on the podcast this question, and you can take it any way you want to take it. But we're halfway through the year. How are you planning to lend it forward for the remaining 6-ish months of the year?
How am I going to lend it forward? That's awesome. Well, you know, I think of that in a couple ways. You know, every day we try to lend forward, right? We try to pass along a good, whether it's just a simple smile, whether it's just a good positive energy. I love trying to spread that, trying to, you know, bring people out of a doldrum if they're in it for a day. We all get to those spaces. But Hannah, honestly, another huge piece of what, you know, a big piece that drew me to Atlantic Bay was our charitable side, to be honest with you. And I sit on the board of a nonprofit here in Central Florida called Edgewood Children's Ranch, and so it is a home where we get troubled youth, kids that have, you know, rough home lives or maybe have kind of started down a wrong path. We bring them education. We bring them you know, a support system and a place to grow and feel loved and get some structure in their world. So I just got off a board meeting this morning from that. So that's fresh on my mind and how I can continue to help, you know, the youth of this community. And with Atlantic Bay's help, which I know is there, you know, try to help spread some love to them. So that's part of my next half of the year focus as well.
That is awesome. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for joining the podcast today. Just thank you for being a part of the team. We are so excited to have you not only on the podcast, but just part of the Atlantic Bay family. And what is going to take place in Florida is going to be super exciting. So thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you.
We will be talking soon.
To do this and to chat with you for a little bit. I love it. Love Atlantic Bay and can't wait to see where we go with this whole thing.
Thanks again for listening to the Lending Forward podcast powered by Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. Don't forget to tune in next week and make sure you subscribe to our channel. Remember, we all play a part in lending forward. So go lend something forward today.